All right. Hello. Yep, we're going to be in this side. Feel free to sit at any table. I've got a microphone. If you need a plug-in to take notes, you got the tables for notes. I'm going to be the first speaker. Huh? What? Yes, if you don't want to listen to me, absolutely. Now is the time to get food. All right. I just need to make sure I'm coming in through the live stream, and then we can get going. Ooh, good. It sounds like we can hear me. All right. Ooh, maybe that's a little too loud. I think can you guys hear me? Yeah. Michael, I'm sorry. You guys, okay. Well, welcome to our Game Master workshop. I'm going to scoot over here, that way I can see you. The idea is I've got 2 other guest speakers, and we each have our own topics that we're going to be talking about. The first topic I'm going to be talking about today is world building and making unique NPCs. How to make our characters care about our NPCs, how do we role play NPCs. We'll touch a little bit on the voice acting as well, if you want to indulge in that. Michael will be the second guest speaker today, and then Brinley will be our third guest speaker. In the last half hour, we'll just do an open forum Q&A where anyone can ask whatever questions they want to any of the 3 speakers here today. They have their own topics, but I forgot to write it down before. Brinley, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about not planning.
Not planning. So Brinley's going to be talking about how to not plan. Michael, what are you going to be talking about?
I will be discussing memorable moments.
Memorable. So Michael will be discussing memorable moments. So that's that. We are going to be live streaming on the We Geek Together website, and I know the Sandy store is might be logging in onto the live stream as well. So we've got comments here that we will be managing. And if you're watching the live stream somewhere else, cool, you can comment and ask questions away. But yeah, my subject today, NPCs. How do we make our characters fall in love with them? How do we make our characters hate them? How do we build out our NPCs to make them fun, unique, and interesting? Because this is a role-playing game after all. So let's get some tools in our belt for role-playing. All right, a little bit about me. I'm Andy. I think you guys know me. If you found this class, you know a bit about me. I've been running D&D games, RPG games for since I was 20. So that's over 15 years of playing and running games with many different systems as well. Call of Cthulhu, the Avatar RPG, Drawsteel, and D&D. So yeah, I've been entrenched in the hobby a lot. But this is one thing I'm really passionate about is the NPCs, because I feel like this is what gives your world so much flavor and uniqueness that only you as the game master can capture. So let's first start with creating NPCs. How can we create unique NPCs that our players like to meet? When I'm creating NPCs, let's just say like an NPC, like a mentor or a town guard or a mayor, I usually like to follow this process. Obviously, we got to come up with a name, we got to come up with their job, but then I want to come up with their main motivation. The motivation is going to be like, why do they do what they do? Are they trying to make a better life for their family? Are they someone who seeks glory or gold? Are they someone who wants to be remembered and make a name for themselves? Are they just trying to keep themselves alive in a terribly oppressive and dangerous world? I usually try to give them one main motivation for their character. And the reason I want to give them a motivation is because that's kind of my tester anytime the players are going to push up against their motivation. So if they want to convince the mayor to join them on a dangerous quest, if they're kind of a family man and they're trying to provide for their family, they probably won't be interested in doing that because their number one goal is to stay alive and provide for their family. But if they're a mayor who wants to seek glory, rise up in the ranks, eventually become a lord or a king, then maybe that mayor is more selfishly interested in the idea of seeking out gold glory in a quest to prove their honor is something that they want. So give your NPCs a main motivation. If you're here for the class, feel free to take any of the seats here. You can take notes. All 4 of these tables are open, and you can even pull the chairs out to the side. Hey, thanks for those watching us on the live stream. Okay, now that we have a motivation, another thing I like to give them is, this is going to be for more advanced NPCs, is I like to give them a flaw, something that they don't recognize about themselves, or maybe they even do recognize, but something that can go against their main motivation. Because after all, one of the things that makes us very human is we have our own flaws. For those of us just joining, I'm Andy. I'm talking about NPCs, how to make them interesting, unique, engaging, and how to even role play them. So they should have a main motivation, but then they should also have a flaw. And the flaw should be something that can sometimes go against their main motivation. So we have this mayor. This mayor is seeking glory and gold. They're trying to become a lord. They're trying to expand their reach. The flaw for this mayor could be maybe they have an addiction to a substance. Maybe they have a child out of their marriage and that they're very ashamed of and trying to keep hush hush. Maybe they have a dark secret in their past that if this comes up would be damning to their rise of successes of the mayor. Now again, I'm only going to give this to like my detailed NPCs, characters that my players are going to be interacting with a lot, because if a player finds out this flaw, it makes this character have a whole lot more dynamic, right? The greedy mayor who's just looking out to grow their stature, we can understand that. That's pretty easy to understand, pretty surface level. But then once you realize maybe the reason that they're trying to raise in stature is because they're so ashamed of their addiction to the substance, and so that's why they're so gung-ho, is they're trying to prove to themselves that they can actually rise and overcome, but you know, they have this moment of weakness around whatever this substance is. And your players finding that gives that character so much more depth than just being a one-note NPC. So yeah, be this the mentor, be this the villain, be this the town mayor, be this the quest giver who's constantly your NPC or your player characters are bumping into. If they have a main motivation, that gives you a great divining rod, so you know always how they're going to react in situations. And then having a flaw that your players can uncover gives them a whole level of depth, and it makes this character feel real. So that's a good kind of starting base for a character. I'm going to open up a little bit for questions, and then we can get into role-playing them, making them feel unique, making them either, if we want to go for comedy or seriousness or that kind of stuff, we can talk about them. But does anyone have any questions on motivations, flaws, that kind of stuff? Do I use NPCs as a face of faction? Fantastic question. NPCs are a really good way to world build different parts of your world. So yes, absolutely, I use NPCs as a face of a faction or a face of a culture or a face of a guild. So if I want people to learn about this new, across the sea, there's this whole country, having an NPC who shares their motivations, shares their beliefs, that kind of stuff. I will absolutely use a NPC as like a poster child for a race, a guild, or that kind of stuff. That might not be the leader of the faction, but it'll be like a very optimistic representation of whatever that faction is. And so then if they interact more with that group, then we can introduce more nuanced NPCs, maybe who's maybe doesn't believe in the beliefs or is entrenched or brainwashed, however you want to do that. Great question. Okay, let's talk about the fun stuff, which is role-playing, making them unique, giving them character, giving them personality, quirks, and traits. So first off, one of the best things to do to give yourself ideas on how to give your NPCs flavor, consuming media, either reading or listening to audiobooks, TV shows, that kind of stuff, and just rip off a character and character personalities that you like. If you've ever seen Psych, the chief Lassiter, a very straight man cop who doesn't like no nonsense, has absolutely been an NPC I've used for like my sheriff or a lawman, that kind of stuff. So absolutely just finding your favorite characters that you like and ripping them off wholesale, using a fantasy coat of paint, putting them into your world. Nobody's going to realize that Lassiter is the town guard because of the whole change of scenery, context, and everything. They're going to think that, wow, this is an uptight, no-nonsense city guard. They're not going to realize the motivation I do. And so when I write out my notes for these NPCs, I've got my name, I've got my motivation, I've even got kind of like their location or where they are. But then I have a note, this is Lassiter, or this is that kind of person. And that's a very quick shorthand for me to kind of keep an idea of how I'm going to try to role play these. If I want to get more unique, all right, so that's very easy. If I need to come up with an NPC right there, right then and there, we're coming up with a city guard, cool. But if I want to get a bit more unique and more interesting, then it is just a bit of practice. Matt Mercer has said what he does when he's trying to find his character is he spends that half-hour car drive before the event just doing voices until a voice sticks. And then once he's got a voice for that character, then he's kind of got some mannerisms. And we'll get into the voices in just a bit, because the voices can absolutely be a whole tool in your tool belt. Okay, cool. We got 18 minutes, great. The voices can be a whole tool in your tool belt. I lost my train of thought. Got it, okay. Yeah, so setting on a voice for your character is a great way to make them, more unique, and that's kind of what Matt Mercer does. Another way to create unique and engaging NPCs that you're going to be role playing is to try to play kind of either a mirror or a foil to your players. If your players are playing an uptight paladin, having a uptight paladin of a rivalry church, or having a very relaxed paladin of the same church can also be a very fun, flavorful context for your players. It lets your players bounce off of the characters. And really that's the whole purpose of the NPCs. You want your players to have fun interacting with your NPCs. So some of the times when you're designing NPCs, think of how either annoying or fun your player character specifically might think of that NPC and how they interact with them. And that can give you a lot of different tools and motivations for creating the character. Hello, thank you. Steven, thanks for watching the comments. Thank you, Steven. Okay, any questions on that topic, and then we'll get into the fun voices. Cool. All right. Don't worry, because we will have plenty of time for Q&A, and we've got so many other great speakers. So hopefully we can get a lot of information for you guys. Okay. I am not a voice actor. I'm terrible at doing voice acting. And so this has been an absolute helpful tool that I've researched and studied for creating different voices for my characters. Because one of the things you can do to just make a character feel unique is how they talk and the voice of their talking. Now, this is not for everyone. Not every dungeon master needs to have voices. You really do not need to have voices. How you describe a character can do it enough. If you want to describe a nervous librarian, you can describe, the trembling hand while they're picking up their books, the messing with their glasses constantly while they're talking. How you describe a character is just as effective as being the voice for them, but it is another tool in your belt, and so we're going to learn a bit about voices. So here are 6 different things you can do to vary your voice with 0 voice acting proficiency or skills. Because again, I'm not a voice actor. I'm not good at doing different voices. Some people, it comes naturally, and for me, it definitely does not. Let's talk about your timing, okay? The timing of how you speak says a lot about the character. If your character talks quickly, that usually gives off a high energetic tone, versus if they are very slow and deliberate, that is a completely different tone. And I'm not going to change the pitch at all, but if I can talk very quickly while I'm trying to relay my point, it kind of gives your character either a high energy or maybe even a level of knowledge, of ability to sound smart, or maybe a con man who likes to talk quickly. But if I take my time talking, maybe I am a character who is either wise or stoned. And so it gives a very different feel without changing the voice or timbre or any pitch. Okay, now you have where are you talking from? Okay, you can talk from your diaphragm when you're talking low down here, or you can talk more up in your nose, like you have a cold. Okay, again, I'm not a voice actor, but there's absolutely a difference from talking down here, which maybe authority or a guard or a mayor can talk from down here, versus if I'm talking up a bit more nasally, this could be a scribe or a bookworm. And again, I haven't even changed if I'm talking high in my voice or talking low in my voice. That's just speaking from the chest or speaking from the nose. So we've got timing, and we've got where you're talking from. Then we have I want to call it the flavor or the smoothness of your voice. If you're someone who talks smoothly, where there's no real staccatos, you're talking, this is almost dreamlike, where your words just kind of flow into one another, versus someone who enunciates every single word of their sentence. Again, that's a whole nother flavor. So are they someone who ties their words together, or do they pronounce every consonant in their word? So that's another thing we can do, okay? Finally, we can talk about your tone, okay? Because your tone is important. If we want to give them, more power, or maybe elderly or a dragon, you can lower the pitch of your voice. Or if you want to give them maybe more fragile or elegant or innocent, raising your voice just a little bit does do that as well. And so you can think about just how we as natural humans, we can consider deep voices or high voices with that. And again, that's all I'm doing is I'm just speaking up a bit higher in my octave or speaking lower in my octave. The last thing we can try to focus on is age. Okay? When I think of an elderly person, and this is more of like breath. I think breath is better than age. If you breathe a lot while you're talking, that gives your character a sense of age or wistfulness or, again, part of that dreamlike substance. So if you put breath into your words, that is something else you can do. Maybe elves, talk with more breath because they have lived many lives and they've been out in the world. So again, no accents, but now we've shown so many different modifications. So I can then start adding some of those different things together. If I want to do like a high energy, this is usually my gnomes or my goblins. They will have, staccato-y timing, so they'll talk really fast. I'll raise it up a little bit of an octave. Oh, that's a shiny trinket you got there. Wow, let me see that. I want that, give me that. And that feels like a gnome or a goblin, someone who's high energy. And then if I'm trying to do an ent, I'm gonna go maybe a bit lower in my diaphragm, and I'm going to space those words out just a bit more to give my words a bit more potence. No accents, but now you can tell there's a difference between a high energy gnome and a low energy ent. So those are some of the tools I have for when I'm trying to do voices. Again, I'm really not good at accents. So if you want to go into accent study, if you want to go into regional dialects, if you want to learn your New York accent versus your Boston accent, that's so many other cool tools for you. And it's just not something that I'm really good at. But I can at least give my characters a little bit of flavor. And so I think that's a great tool for everyone, because I think anyone can use those tools, even if you're not good at accents or voices. All right. That is a bit about voice work for NPCs. Let me do a few more examples of some different NPCs, and then we'll just open it up for a final Q&A. Okay, so we talked a little bit about elves. Elves being long-lived, elves being maybe naturally dreamy. I will kind of weave their words together. And maybe a little bit of a higher pitch to show that these elves are refined. One thing I didn't even talk about, but the vocabulary our characters use is absolutely important. If we want our characters to sound intelligent, you want to give them bigger words, and if we want them to sound less intelligent, give them either improper words or slang words or that kind of thing. So those are great options to give your characters. So a refined elf will absolutely use eloquent language to make sure they are distinguished in their conversations. Versus a brash dwarf who likes to talk in his diaphragm, who doesn't change the pitch of all in his voice, is pure, direct confrontation. So now we have the dreamy elf and we have the dwarf. And there's very different textures to that. And then you can do that for so many other examples. But yeah, we gave some good examples there. All right, do we have any questions on voice work or anything like that? I think that's some pretty good tools there to start with. Okay, as far as NPCs go, what questions do you want to have? Do you want to talk about making a villain cool? Do you want to talk about how do I make it tragic when I kill an NPC? With 6 minutes to spare, we can just talk about our favorite NPCs. If we just want to talk about our favorite inspirations from media to steal NPCs, like we got 6 minutes to open up the forum a bit.
Yeah. So along with what you said, how do you make it a big bad sympathetic?
How do you make a big bad sympathetic? Really cool question. So how do you make a big bad morally gray so players feel bad when this happens? This is what I feel like we get to when we're talking about their flaw, okay? A flawed villain can absolutely be very sympathetic. There's a whole topic worth about villains because there's a whole range of villains, from force of nature villains to a strict belief villain to accidental villains, which could be very sympathetic. Is a villain who had no intention to be a villain, but unfortunately because of the choices they've made trying to make their life better because of their main motivation, they have now suddenly arrived to villainy, and now their flaw is they have to continue pushing this forward. Think of the Iceman in Batman. You know, he's trying to save his wife, and unfortunately he just has to take it to the extreme of becoming a villain. There's quite a few good examples of that, but when you have their motivation and you have their flaw, I think that's the great starting to find a sympathetic villain. As far as like sympathy goes, if we're just trying to be sympathetic, there's a term in writing called save the cat. And the idea is if you want a relatable NPC, if you want a character that your players latch onto, maybe even the villain, you need to show them doing something good, something that is inherently good that the players will feel like, oh, okay, there's a redeeming quality to this person. So maybe a villain who raises a town, but before he raises the town, he lets the children go. Okay, he has hatred for this town. He needs this town to be destroyed, but before he doesn't, he doesn't kill the children who are innocent and whatever this town did to fail them. If anyone saw the Castlevania in Netflix's Castlevania, Dracula says, "I will murder everyone in a year because you killed my wife." And we all feel bad for Dracula because they killed his wife, and he was so nice. He gave them a year, or maybe it was even 10 years, I can't remember, but he gave them time to flee. And out of their stupidity and no nonsense, they never fled, and so he did massacre them all. But so save the cat. So if you want your villains, or even your heroes, or your NPCs, or other people, you need to show them doing something inherently good that everyone understands fundamentally. That's a good thing. That's why it's called saving the cat, because saving a cat out of a tree is just inherently good. So think of some way you can show that to your players and something that they do. And immediately your players are then going to be conflicted about, oh shoot, you know, we need to take a look at this. Great question. It is also a good screenwriting book. Thank you for doing that. What is a good way to make an NPC sound treating? I don't know what sound treating. I don't know what sound treating is. Dog meat calf. You're gonna have to sound treating. Yeah, I don't know what that is. While you're typing that up, any other final question?
I don't necessarily know if there's a good answer to this. I tend to get so in the weeds about what needs to be said, what needs to happen, that like I kind of lose the actual character of it, and it's just a device to deliver like what needs to happen next or that kind of stuff. Like I don't know if there's something other than just like you just kind of gotta do it, like take a breath and just relax kind of a thing. And
Sure.
so like, is there any kind of tip?
Great. So you're talking about sometimes we just lose the character in the weeds because I need to deliver this lore. I need to connect with the players. There's something that has to be done, and I lose the character. That actually happens to me a lot as a dungeon master, especially if I'm trying to like keep a voice and then try to keep all these beliefs. So here's a few quick tips to refocus your character. If it's a character they're going to be meeting a lot, give them a little catchphrase or something, you know, that you can sink back into that character very easily. Oi, blimey, or just whatever. Give your character a catchphrase that you can, when you feel like, hey, I'm losing this character, I've lost the accent, I've lost the main motivation. Give yourself almost like a memory hook, something that they do or say that can re-get you back into their character. I have a character in one of my campaigns who smokes. And so every time I need to recenter myself, I just put my pencil in my mouth and then I talk like he does, like he's smoking a pipe. And that immediately recenters me in that character and gets me back to thinking. Because that's absolutely easy when players are asking you tough questions, and then you got to think about this character from this point of view, from their motivation, in their voice. There's a lot you're trying to do in real time. So give yourself an easy hook to sink back into that character. And that's why I like to write their motivation and their flaw. And that's pretty much most of my notes for that NPC. I can then take session notes of like what they did, but if I have their motivation and flaw super easy right in front, that's also a great reminder for me. Okay, Doug replied back, how do you make an NPC threatening? All right, this will be my last thing. We'll spend 2 minutes and then we'll go to that. When you want a villain to feel threatening, I think one of the best things to do early on is to tease how above the villain is to your players. There's a scene where Darth Vader is standing with Princess Leia, and he's just talking to her. But the scene right before that happened, Darth Vader just with a thought and a wave of his hand killed one of his guards. And so we as the audience, we know, geez, if Darth Vader really wanted to, he could just snap her neck at any time. Like we've seen how threatening of a presence he is. Not just his voice, not just his design, but just the audience was shown his power in a moment before. And so if you can give your villain a moment to do something dastardly, vaporize a minion, cast a 9th level spell on a whim, bring all the characters down to 0 HP, and then toss one of them a healing potion and say, hey, I'll see you in 2 months when it's time to pay your dues. There's a few things you can do to show just how beneath him or her, whatever the villain is, your players are. And so those are some good tools. Maybe our final session is going to be more about villains, because villains are super interesting, so maybe we can get more topics about villains. But I am now over time. I'm sorry, Michael. When you are ready, you're able to come up. Thank you very much. Oh, do you need a projection?
No.
No?
No.
Brentley, you do. So I will get this TV ready for you. I'll be running behind the camera and everything. No, you're not. You're prepared. Oh, hold it, Michael. You need the microphone, otherwise YouTube won't hear you. Just clip that.
Don't worry, YouTube, you didn't miss anything. All right, so I'm going to be talking about memorable moments. Now, that can be great many things, but we're going to try and isolate it a little bit. So what is a memorable moment? Does anyone have any thoughts? Anyone want to take a gander at what they think a memorable moment is in a role-playing game? Anyone? Bueller? There you go. Something you're going to make inside jokes about, such as Colin pointed out, one of the things that his group makes fun of constantly is cold kills cold. This happened because one of his characters found a item in D&D called brown mold, which the only way to destroy brown mold, which causes cold damage to you, is to hit it with cold damage, and it's destroyed. His character was playing an intelligence-based character, and this broke him. And we reference it all the time whenever something doesn't make sense, but does make sense. And it's great. That is a fantastic, memorable moment. Other memorable moments are, let's say, for instance, in one of the games I run, it was meant to be a high fantasy kind of fun world apocalyptic type of game, and has thus turned into this very intense emotional campaign. Still lots of fun, but one of the memorable moments are that one of the players, we had decided when he was creating his backstory that he was responsible for one of the other players' people that she was attached to. He was part of a genocide of their people, that he had committed this great atrocity with her, and their dynamic was very strained. Now, he didn't commit any of the actual acts himself, but he was the man that was signing the warrants, essentially, and became very aware of what was happening and decided that he needed to end this. He was so upset that he had fallen into this and he was manipulated. And so what ended up happening is he started working with the opposition in his backstory until he was able to help free some of her people and get the genocide to stop. This led to them both kind of having really heartfelt moments in game and coming to this understanding of, we understand each other and you were manipulated into this and I understand where that you're coming from, and they kind of moved on and they've created an even better player experience between them. Now, I helped set that up, but the players are the ones that had to engage in that. They had to really put themselves into that role. You as players, your job when creating backstories for any game, you are supposed to be sharpening knives. Have any of you ever heard of knife theory when it comes to D&D? We got Sean in the back here. Sir, and what's your name? Steve. Steve, excellent, Steve. That'll be easy to remember. So you guys have both heard of knife theory then, right? Awesome. We'll start with Sean. Give me a knife. Any knife. Missing brother. Fantastic knife. You have a missing brother. You've decided this is in your backstory. Yes, I have a missing brother. I don't know what happened to him. Yada, yada, yada. You don't really give me details. You give me a general description. As a GM, my job now is to take that knife that you've given me and I'm going to plunge it into your character at some point to make this memorable moment happen. This is going to be in the heat of a battle, potentially. You're in the thick of combat. Fireballs are flying, and suddenly a random rogue comes rushing up to you, slashes you, and you look in their eyes and you realize, my brother! Oh crap, now we're on the wrong side, I gotta figure this out. The party's trying to kill your brother, what are you gonna do? Or maybe your brother is the villain of this entire campaign, and he's missing because he chose to go missing, and now you realize, oh, I need to stop family before he goes and kills everyone. Fantastic knife. Steve, what knife can you give me? You're carrying around, fantastic. You're carrying around a family heirloom with unknown purposes. That is a fantastic knife. That is what I refer to in my games as a nuke. If you ask my players, I like to hand my players nukes. A lot of my players will tell you that they hate this and that they do not want to hold the nukes. I have done this in many of my campaigns. One of the things I like to do in D&D is I create custom items for my players that grow with them. A lot of my players like, this is great, this is fun, love it to death. Unfortunately, sometimes those items turn around and really bite the players. It's like, what do you mean I'm gonna die if I use this too many times? I don't like that. Another one of my nukes that I gave a player is he stole a gemstone that he knew more or less what it did. His family had, like, they worked with people that put it together. And so he's like, hey, I wanted to use this. In a moment of like combat and passion, he's like, I want to end this fight before it gets too bad, throws it, and I go, cool, you don't know what this does, but you threw it, right? And he goes, yeah. Now keep in mind, in few earlier sessions, he had been in another fight, and I asked him if he had that gem on him when he got hit with something. And he goes, oh, no, I left it over here. And I was like, cool. He didn't ask me why I wanted to know that, just that, cool, great. Now he has to wonder, wait, why is this important? I go, cool, so you just summoned the sun on your location, and I hope that you guys can survive it. And then I left that. So memorable moments when you are GMing are about creating a problem for your players to solve. Your job is not to force them into a problem. Your job is not to make them fix a puzzle. Your job is to create little pearls that you just kind of scatter around your game and then let your players walk into them. And these can be constantly used. Things that I do all the time is I give players random spells from earlier editions or take them in from an entirely different game system. Let me kind of step back here for a second as well, because I just realized you probably have no idea who I am. So we're going to go ahead and introduce myself real fast. My name is Michael Overby. I also go by the Black Stag GM. That's my LLC moniker, nom de plume, as it were. And I am a GM with a little over 18 years of experience. I've been doing this since I was well into my teens, and I won't tell you how old I am, mainly because I have forgotten. If you ask my wife, she can tell you. I cannot. I know that Andy and I are approximately somewhere within the same age range. And so, now, you might think, oh, cool, he's got lots and lots of experience. And I'm going to tell you right now, experience helps, but it's not necessary to create those masterclass moments. What really helps is an understanding of what your players are trying to do, what you're trying to do. Keep in mind in world building, when it comes to RPGs and world building when it comes to books, are very different beasts. World building to books is you need a name for something that exists that will most likely never be explored, but you're putting it in your book so that you know where things are. So that when your characters, as you're bringing them to life, know that this is something that's there. And they can somewhat either point to it or react to it or kind of commentate on it, but it's not really important to your story. When you're crafting world building in TTRPGs, you also don't really need to think too hard about your world building. You need to think about where you want your world building to go. Oftentimes when I'm crafting a world, I put bones in. I don't really put anything else in. I don't put any great amount of effort into it. I just put bones in and say, this is the general information. And then I tell my players, here's all this information that you can do. My players will tell you that that's a lot of information, and I will probably agree with you, but that is the tip of an iceberg that you don't see in my brain or that I've written down. The point being is, I don't want my players to know the world. I want them to find out. Because I also want to find out what's going to happen in my world. I don't know what's going to happen. I want you as players to tell me how this story is going to go. And so one of the funnest things I've ever dealt with is when I have had players describe things to me. One of my favorite things to ask is, what does your magic look like? If you're a spellcaster, if I point at you and we'll say, how about you? What's your favorite character class to play? Bard. What does your bardic magic look like? What's your go-to?
It's definitely snark.
Snark? Okay. Okay, what color does it come out as?
I feel it's audio more than visual.
Audio, okay. So what does it sound like?
There was a moment where I got the spotlight right on me, like a huge villain from the rest of the party, and some spotlight, rockstar stage, and it worked. It was distracting for just long.
Great. So you had this memorable moment where you rocked out on stage, and just by me asking, hey, what does your stuff look like? You immediately were like, oh, it's not visual, it's auditory. It's not this, it's this. You're able to kind of craft your own memorable moment in that regard where it's like, hey, this is something really cool that I want to have. And now after that, it tells the rest of the players at the table what you as a bard are doing, what you look like, how you interact with the world, and suddenly the memorable moments that happen later down the road. Say maybe there's a lich, and this lich is about to just take over the world, and you as a bard are like, hey, I have a dumb plan. I'm going to use Otto's Irresistible Dance on the lich. And suddenly you are tap dancing with this lich. You are rock, heavy metal, headbanging type of music go with this lich. And the other players, because you've already established your magic does this, you're now like, everyone can easily think in their brain, cool, I'm imagining this lich now just rocking out headbanging style with the bard as you are kind of not necessarily sacrificing, but you're creating this moment so that the rest of the party can now add to this moment. So when you're adding these memorable moments, when you're trying to think these up, the objective of your memorable moment shouldn't be how am I going to tell the players what that moment is? It should be, how am I going to let the players craft their own memorable moment so that when the time comes, everyone at the table is going to be enraptured with that moment. I want to kind of open this up a little bit for you guys, but kind of before we continue, because I'm not exactly sure how much time I have. Apologies. So I'm just going to start. Does anyone have let's say a scenario that they want to throw out? We're going to do a little improv where you force me to improv for you. Does anyone want to throw something out? Yes. What's your name? Sorry, say again. Tren. Excellent. Lovely. Tren. The main help and the main villain. Okay, main ally, main villain. So you want to create a memorable moment for these two things. So creating a memorable moment for introducing your main ally. Now it depends. Is this ally, I'm going to ask you, is this ally, are they combative? Are they magical? Are they intrigued? Are they just a social person? Like tell me about this ally a little bit.
They are very magical.
Okay. Okay, they're magical and they want to keep things in balance. So a good way to do this is early on, this ally, you want the players to kind of either cling on to them or at least have something that you attach to them. So crafting memorable moments is kind of similar to crafting an NPC. Don't try to make a whole bunch of random stuff for the NPC. Not helpful. You will get confused, the players won't remember, and 6 months down the road, you'll forget the voice and what they look like. Instead, do two easy, really quick things to make it so that you can always come back to this character, even if you don't write it down. One, give a single description of what the person looks like, meaning within one sentence, you've given them everything you need to know. Older gentleman, gray hair, wears a robe, speaks with a lisp. You've given a quick, easy thing for them to understand. 6 months down the road, you're going to be like, right, old guy, gray robe, speaks with a lisp, forgot the other thing, but mostly he's the same. And that may change a little bit here and there, but for the most part, you'll keep those same things running. Then, the second thing you're going to want to do is give him a motivation, something that's really easy. You've already given it to him. He wants to keep things in balance. So, you introduce the players. The memorable moment, the players are suddenly having a crisis. They can't overcome this, or they're in a fight, or something is going terribly wrong, and they don't know how to resolve it. Now you decide how you want this memorable moment to come about. Is it supposed to be intense? Is it supposed to be comedic? Is it supposed to be just kind of there in general, or do you have a purpose for it? So maybe in this regard we say it's comedic. You're not meaning for this NPC to be the serious NPC. He's going to be a kind of funny NPC. Funniest thing that I've ever done is have an NPC that was a funny one-off character that constantly keeps coming and reoccurring into other campaigns just because I think it's funny and the players, every time they see it, they groan. And so you can have your wizard friend come in and you can have it where the big fight is happening. People are being exploded. Spells you've never heard of are being used. And he comes walking into the field with a cup of coffee going like, hey guys, can you keep it down? It's a little loud out here, don't you think? Hey, all right, time stop. 1 second. Walks over, taps a few people like, hey, come on, let's no, shush. You guys you're messing up the works here. We need to go and fix some things. You started this. I'm going to help you fix it, but I ain't cleaning up your mess. I ain't your father. And you can kind of make that. Immediately, your players are going to be like, who the hell is this coffee-drinking wizard who speaks with a lisp and is actively, telling me off because we're in a war? We didn't start it. Well, okay, mainly we started a little bit, but, we're adventurers. It's prone to happen. So that's a great memorable moment. A villain is something you want to craft. A villain is always something that you don't want to just narrate. You want to do kind of different things. One thing is have them be a friend and have them go with the party. Stab them in the back. Easy trope, still works regardless of how long you've been doing it. Another really good one is to create an ambience. A great villain introduction is one where the players don't actually get to see what's happening as it's happening. Let's take, for instance, a villain that I used in a campaign was her. Just so you know, I like to use villains and I like to give them weird, ambiguous names. So this is going to sound weird, but the Mother of Brine was the name of my main villain in one of my campaigns. My players knew this character. They knew that she existed. They had maybe 6 interactions with her total, but they interacted with a bunch of other kind of mini bosses throughout the game. And every time they did, there was like, okay, but then also there was always this greater evil always lurking, and she made everything just a little more intense, and she made everything feel a little more cataclysmic. By the time they got to the point where they were fighting her entire presence, I got some music that I kind of created and cultivated, and then I used a program to make some lyrics, and then I played it for them. And essentially, instead of this, like, ha ha, you cannot defeat me, it was a subtle, I've already won. You've lost. The world is ending. I own it. You were too distracted going after the wrong thing, so I get to now take over. Players absolutely hated it, pissed off about it, and so when the final fight happened, they were super motivated to kill the Mother of Brine, even though they knew like horrible things were going to happen to them probably. And they would have. One of the players got really savvy the night before and was like, hey, I have a plan. Can I do this plan? It was great. Turned into a fantastic, memorable moment because the player's like, I would like to summon another NPC that we all hate, but does technically have the ability to help us in this situation. He's a jerk, and he screwed us over and abandoned us in here in the first place, but we would really like his help now. And so they did. They made a deal with him. They killed a god in exchange for him getting rid of this one enemy that they've already taken down. She's been defeated, but she's about to explode herself and the world with it. So he just kind of shows up, and the last part of this campaign was less of a fight and more of a debate, where they're trying to convince this entity, please help us for once in your life, stop screwing us over and just do a good thing. And eventually they won. And they were able to rip it out, and it was a great moment. They had their great epilogue, and they still will bring it up. One of my favorite things is I've had players give me little gifts before, and when I open up, the letters say F you. Because, again, I like to really traumatize you. Cats are a thing in my campaigns that people avoid. Yeah, there you go. Cats are a thing in my campaigns that people avoid like the plague. If I mention a cat, most of my tables run the other direction. They're like, nope, you said cat. That's not a thing. But those kinds of things are memorable moments for your players. Those kinds of things stick with players forever, and they make the game sound and feel so great. When someone is describing their D&D experience, one of the things that I oftentimes find is players love telling me about their players, or like they like to give me their backstories. But one thing that I can tell, the thing that makes them the most passionate, is when those players start telling me about that one time. That one time I got stuck up in a tree and it led to us burning down a forest and saving the world. How we got there, I don't know, but they'll talk about it, and it's a memorable moment. So that is kind of like, that's my whole spiel here for memorable moments. There's no perfect way to craft one, but there are many ways to get to the end of where you want to go. So that being said, I'm going to open it up for Q&A, and I am happy to answer as many questions about moments, memorable moments, backstories, NPCs, whatever you got for a few minutes, and you guys can just kind of throw whatever you had at me. Anyone? Yeah.
It sounds like it'd be very easy to overplan a big one.
Oh, yeah.
From what you're saying, so you're putting all the parts there, but you don't force it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you can overplan a memorable moment as much as you want. The best way to do it, though, is throw all the pieces out, wait, and let the players walk into it on their own. Don't force it, just let them gently walk into your plan. And I can tell you right now, my plans change all the time. Sometimes I'm like, oh yes, I had this great reveal. The players are doing something entirely new or unexpected, and suddenly I'm like, that plan is out the window. New plan, plan B. We're gonna now go ahead and make this the better option. So memorable moments are also subject to change. Don't try to be like, this has to happen. Be like, I want you to walk into this I'm going to allow you to get there, but also if it needs to change, I'm going to swap it out so that the moment still feels just as real as it would have if, it had been the original one that you had planned. Anyone else? Yeah.
What about, I want to run a story, but it's mostly based on this one specific moment that I
Yeah.
really hope happens.
Okay.
Like, it's more of the middle.
Okay. So you have like a focal point. So this is not what I would call memorable moment. This is the focal point of your campaign, as it were. You want it to be a memorable moment. So in this particular case, if you have a focal point, then you're like, I need this to happen a certain way. I'm going to tell you right now, don't let it happen until you're ready for it. Let your players run the game, create the sessions, let them proceed forward as they want, and then let you go ahead and change things as it's happening. And then as soon as you get to that focal point, the part that you want the players to go, spring it on them. Let them have it. Because remember, this is in TTRPGs in general, as a GM, you're a player just as much as the players at your table. Your enjoyment is part of this. Your enjoyment is seeing the look on your players' faces as they go slack-jawed and start screaming at you like, how could you do this? Why did you traumatize me like this? How dare you? That's the best part. You want to enjoy the game just as much as the players, and if you're like me, you get a huge kick out of your players' enjoyment of the game in general. That help at all? Cool. Anyone else? Anyone on chat? I either answered all the questions or none of the questions. Awesome. Well, yeah, that's all I got. And if you guys want to talk to us afterwards, by all means. I believe Brinley is next. Uh-oh. There's technical things happening. Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Oh, yes. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, at my website at blackstackgm.com, and here at the tavern. I do have games open, so if you would like, diceoutpost.com has a bunch of really awesome games that I am looking for players. So thank you so much. Oh, yeah, and for those of you here, those 4 poster boards are the games that I'm looking for, or players that I'm looking for. You can ask me questions about it. Here, you talk now.
Yippee! I'm so excited, y'all. I can't put this on. Oh, yeah, cool. I'm trying. Alright, while I'm getting your stuff set up, you can introduce yourself. Hi guys. This is a group participation one, so I hope you're excited because I am. Oh, I can't walk very far. This is a problem. Yeah. I'll wait until you can walk a bit more. Yay. Little fun thing about me, I can't DM and sit down at the same time. We got to stay active because there's a lot of energy that is in here. Hi everybody. My name is Brinley. I also go by Garf for my friends because I have an unhealthy obsession with Garfield. And I also go by the Ginger Hyena DM. So whatever you want to call me, I will probably respond to it. Yes. Yeah. Oh, we went too many things, but that's okay. There we go. Hi, I'm Brinley. Good to see all of you guys. It's good to be here today. I have DM'd for around 4 years. I actually started by DMing instead of playing because none of my friends wanted to DM. I was like, I'll do it instead. I'm sure many of you are also in that boat. I have a background in the entertainment industry. I am an animator and a musical performer. And so that influences a lot of my choices as a DM in creating a performance for my friends. I enjoy making a show of everything and having a good time with my friends. Sometimes that means that I get really focused on what I want to happen so that everybody has a good time. If I can plan out everything that's going to happen, then I know for a fact that my friends will have a good time and I will have won D&D. And then somebody does something different and all of the plans are out of the window. All of the time that I spent setting up my stuff is wasted, and I go home feeling sad that it didn't go how I wanted to go. How many of you have had that experience? Yeah. Well, with that, we are going to introduce what is the most important rule of D&D. I want you to look at this.
Let me get the camera to focus on it.
That is the most important thing when you're playing D&D. And it is easy to forget that when we come together as a group, what we are trying to accomplish is playing a game and having fun together. Oftentimes we let the planning and the prepping as DMs get in the way of the experience of having fun with our friends. So how do I plan less so I can have more fun with my friends? I don't want to spend hours setting up my lore documents. I just want to get to the time that I can play. That is why we build a toolbox of items. In my session, I don't want to plan a certain extent of things that need to happen. I have done that, and it results in those things not happening and being disappointed. Instead, we're going to take what Michael said, we're going to take what Andy said, we're going to have a couple things that could show up and I can recycle and rework. Well, so together today, we're going to build a toolbox for everybody of this is some things that can happen in my session. I'm planning out a city. This is where my players are going next. This city is named Generic City. No, it's not. Give me a name. Lavaria. Our city is named Lavaria. Our players are coming to this city. We need a couple things that could happen. We need 2 places, 2 people, and 2 quests. So these could be any 2 types of places, any 2 types of people, but having just these couple things sets us up for around 1 to 6 sessions worth of content of just listing out these things. Let's start with our places. 2 places in Lavaria. I have some examples right here, but we don't have to stick to that. Maybe there is a festival that is happening, so we can start engaging with. Oh, I'm moving too much for the camera, guys. We can just say, what does this festival look like? There are some banners. What happens in this festival? There's some games. Maybe my players could get conned. That gives me what it looks like. It gives me what could happen, and that is all I need. I got a second example here, but I want to build this second place with you guys together. Come up with a generic setting in a city, and we will build it out together. I want to see a raise of hands. Sorry? A fish market. Okay. My friend over here, what does a fish market look like? Stacked metal crates. What could my friends do in the fish market?
Play darts.
They could play darts.
There's one stall that is obviously a health hazard.
There is a stall that is a health hazard. That is a little bit more on the description, but I still love it. Sorry.
I was thinking the fish market smell could cover up the illegal.
That's a great idea, but maybe there is illegal events that are happening in the fish market that gives my players something to interact with that's happening there.
Maybe they'll listen in on some gossip from local officials.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And the part about this is that we are not planning what the gossip is. We're just knowing this is something that could happen in the fish market. So when they go there, I don't plan out the gossip because what if they don't listen? Then I'm disappointed. I just plan that it could happen. I like this. I like our fish market. So we have our fancy stinky fish market where my players could cover up illicit substances, listen to gossip.
Would you have maybe a list of information that you know you want to give players along the way? So let's say they don't listen in, but if they do listen in, you've got some things that
That is another example of some toolbox items. The important note here is that there are things that can tie in to the overall story, but if it does not show up, it is not a detriment to the story. Does that make sense?
it's like putting things behind a role.
Precisely. If I need my players to know it, then I'm going to put it in a place that is obvious, not hide it behind a interaction that I need them to make, because I cannot control whether they choose to listen to the fish market. Perhaps if this is information that I need them to know, maybe we put it on a board and describe that listing board to them as soon as they walk in. So they know that that is a thing that is important. If they want to get more information on it, then they can listen to the gossip. Does that make sense? Did I have any more questions on that point? Sick. Cool. So we have our market. Now we need to populate that place that they are going to. This ties back very well to what Andy was talking about. He gave an amazing example of basically what I'm going to say here. A little bit of a description of who the person is and the motivations of this character. We are not determining what role they are serving. We are just determining the motivations of the character so that they can fit any role that the player pushes them into. Does that make sense? My player can choose to ally themselves with this character or not. I just know that the character in this example is a thief. Maybe he's peddling the illicit substances. I know that he wants more money. My players may be good guys, my players might be bad guys. I'm not going to decide whether they should like this thief or if they shouldn't like this thief. But I have my thief in there. So, give me an example of somebody that we have in our fish market.
There's an example from the chat. Maybe there's a fisherman that they can ask to buy fireworks from.
Yeah, I love that.
They said that they've experienced this in one of your campaigns specifically.
I see you, Rayleigh. I see you. And those fireworks will come to haunt me every session. So we have a fisherman who is selling fireworks at the fish market. I need a motivation for this fisherman who is selling fireworks. Why is he selling? Sorry, what? Anarchy. He is an anarchist. He just wants. He wants to start some fires. So I have a fisherman who is selling fireworks. He wants to see anarchy. That way, when my players interact with him, I know how I am going to role play him as an anarchist, but I am not necessarily saying, oh, this is a bad guy, you should not interact with him because he's an anarchist.
Chances are they're going to love him.
Chances are they are going to love him. I need another person. Yeah, let's make another person for our fish market.
Goblin walking with fish from the market.
I don't want to listen to another DM. I want to listen to one of my other people.
I'm just saying, a goblin who's trying to propose with fish in the market.
My friend in a green shirt. Yeah, you got this. I believe in you. A chef looking for some ingredients. That's really awesome. What's the motivation for the chef? To find the finest ingredients. He loves food so much. And the best part about I really like this chef specifically because what if my players go to the fish market and they spend like 5 minutes there and they talk to the thief and then they're done? And I'm like, wait, my chef, my really cool guy, I planned him. He can move from the fish market and he can go into the next place. And his motivations stay the same because we didn't prep out like everything about him. He's not a core character. Part of building your toolbox is building things that are flexible, can be taken out and put into other places if your players don't interact with them. So you are spending less time planning out every single interaction and more time just having your resources pulled in. Does that make sense? Sick. Okay. Quests. We are in the fish market because my players did not leave the fish market, thankfully. And we need some quests for them to do. This is something that is a hook, but can be recycled and reflavored to put in somewhere else. Oftentimes this is related to the area that we're in, or related to one of the characters that we've placed in this area, but we can easily swap out which character is connected to it. In my fish market, I have illicit substances. I have a chef who is looking for the most delicious things. I have a thief who, what was my other? Fireworks. I have a fireworks salesman. How do we connect fireworks salesman, chef, and illicit substances? See, and it's that easy. You can come up with it. No, but I really want to make that point. If it sounds silly in the moment, but if your players are going through this area and you're like, I know that I've got this character here and I've got this character here. They've already talked to the fireworks salesman. He can say, oh, I've got this stuff that goes really great on fish. They go talk to my chef and they think, oh, this thing goes really great on fish. Then I can connect it back to there. Yeah, sick. I like it. So, what does this look like when we've put our toolbox all in a document for prepping? This is all of the notes that you need for like 6 sessions, in my opinion. You have the places that they could go, you have the people that they could interact with, and you have potential quests that they could pick up. Everything in between is just connecting the dots. Yeah, I like it. So, we have our toolbox items that are things that are more flexible, things that are not as important, things to pull out whenever the players do what we're not expecting. But it wouldn't be a very fun game if everything we do is completely on a whim. That is when knowing our unchangeable moments comes into place. These are the things that are core to the story that you're wanting to tell. They move the main story forward. They are few and far between, and these are events that happen to the players, not because of the players' choices. If I am planning an event that it can only happen if my players make a certain set of choices, then I cannot guarantee that is going to happen and is potentially wasted effort. So, events that are happening to my players to move the story forward are only what I should be counting on as the core essences of my story. For example, in one of my games, I killed the cleric's god.
I cried for 10 minutes at the table. It was very dramatic.
This is something that happens to the player, not because of the player's choices. I am not deciding what she is going to do in response to this. I am not deciding that this happened because of a choice that she made, but she has to now decide for herself what is she going to do after that. This is a moment that was going to happen regardless and moves the story forward so I can pull back onto my toolbox items based off of what she chooses to do next. Does that make sense? Do I have any questions so far? Yeah.
Like with these unchangeable ones, I'm relatively new to EM. I have lots of them to start with.
Yeah.
This is all the way I'm talking about reducing development for long-term content. Do you have any guidance about how many of these unchangeable before the game starts to get unwieldy?
So you said before the game starts going?
Yeah, just as a general rule.
I would, that leans a little bit into how long I am wanting this campaign to go. For a short campaign, I would plan on one unchangeable moment that I have prepped beforehand. This is a focal point of something that is going to happen, and the choices that the players make in response to that is the story that we're going to tell. For a longer campaign, I would do one unchangeable moment per arc of the campaign. Usually that is 6 to 8 sessions, in my personal opinion. The story of D&D is more about what we are telling together than it is definitive things that are happening. Does that make sense? Awesome. Sick. Again, just a little point on there. If an event that you want to have happen, but can only happen if somebody makes a certain choice, that is not an unchangeable moment, it is a toolbox item. And leads into our last point of today. it's the hardest part of DMing, isn't it? I really, really want this moment to, I think it'd be really, really cool. But the story that we build together is way more poignant than anything that we could create on our own. Prepping a story that is open-ended for your friends to interact with and to make choices based on to a certain place. And learning to love just having fun with your friends instead of wanting to write a story. It is a lesson that I am still learning myself. So, this is the time where we're gonna practice a little bit, but we did make our little fish market, and I'm so down if we wanna make another place. But let's imagine, you said you're a new DM, my friend? Yeah. Are you starting any new campaigns soon? Do you want to start a new campaign soon? Let's make a session 1 for my friend over here. So, we don't really know how the players are going to be yet. We don't really know what their backstories are, but we can come up with a place for them to start in. What's the first thing that comes to your mind of a place that we can start in for session 1 of this campaign? A beach? Yeah, the beach. We're starting on the beach. What type of beach is this?
Rocky Shores, have a beach. I kind of think Oregon, Washington does.
Yeah. Oregon, Washington. What type of people would I find in that sort of place? My friend over here.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, pirates! That's awesome! I love pirates. So we have pirates. That immediately starts us with a little bit of a quest hook. Maybe the pirates could steal something from the party. Maybe the pirates are the party. What's another person that we can place in this beach town? A pirate captain. So we're developing out the pirates a little bit. I like it. I like it. We can determine some motivations from him. What's a quest that we could write related to this pirate captain?
So we can add a second group of people and have it be like the pirates are coming in to, raid some little fishing village.
Yeah.
It could just be get rid of these pirates, right?
Yeah. Get rid of the pirates, or if the players end up interacting with the pirates first, help the pirates raid the village. That way we have built out the town instead of building out the path that I want my players to take. Does that make sense? Nice. Ta-da, session 1. And it was that simple. And we can play around and have that quest for the next couple sessions until you need to remake the next set of characters. Nice. Thank you guys, everybody. I had a great time.
Any questions for Brindley before we get into the final bit?
Yeah,
Q&A time. Same thing.
please ask.
So we focused on a town.
Yeah.
You hinted on other things. What else did you put in your toolbox?
What else I put in my toolbox? I put some encounters. I put roadside merchants. Some other things that I put in my toolbox. I put interesting items. This interesting item can have a place that it is from, a substance that it serves, but it can show up anywhere. And maybe if the players are intrigued by it, they will follow the path of where it came from. Yeah. Things like that. Anything else?
What is the most, done such a good job showing how easy it is to plan, but what's the most time-consuming part of this?
The most time-consuming part of this,
You made it look so easy.
it is so easy. The most time-consuming part about this is the thinking beforehand. I usually do all of this thinking about how we've like talked back and forth about what we want in this. I usually do this while I'm going about my day. I think about what should this place look like, and that is the most time-consuming part. But I like that because I can do it while I'm doing other activities throughout the day. I come home, write it all down. It's there so I can reference it during the session.
How would you incorporate some of this into pre-existing modules?
Pre-existing modules. I am going to out myself a little bit as a DM in the fact that I have never run a module. But from what I know of modules, using what it has, the people that it has given, I can take those motivations that it lists out. Modules often give you a list of NPCs, a list of the world a little bit. I can take those and not focus as much about the rigid puzzles that need to happen in between and scatter the people around.
Just to go off that, it sounds like you could look at a module as a ready-made toolbox. And not-
Precisely.
and not apply.
Yeah, yes. That is what the point of a module serves, yes.
I kind of want to keep this chef. And
Yeah.
like in these distant mountains that no one's ever trekked before, they find him picking local herbs.
Yes.
You know, and you can put him in a module anywhere.
This is
has,
true.
like, a certain berry that only grows here part of the year, and it means nothing but to have this recurring character. You're like, is this guy important?
And if they really like this, if they really like a toolbox item, I had a toolbox item of a very fun artificer who has shown up in different forms, but my players really liked him. So we spend a little bit more time developing him out, making him a little bit more fleshed out, because I noticed, hey, they like this guy. He is more interesting now, but I didn't put that prep work in beforehand because they might have liked something else. Does that make sense? So you can go back and rework a toolbox item to be a more important thing if it catches their attention. Anything else? Nice. Thank you.
Alright, Michael, you want to join us for this too? Bring a stool, yeah, if you want. Alright. Alright, gang.
Whew.
For the last bit, since you're either dungeon masters in training, want to become dungeon masters, this whole point for this last half hour is open forum, brainstorm. If you have ideas, if you have questions, a frustrating player, or anything, you've got 3 minds of 3 experienced DMs who we can talk about this kind of stuff. And
Oh,
other
look,
people
I
are
have
gonna
a stool.
benefit. And this also goes for the live stream included. Live
Nice.
stream didn't hear that, but if we're talking, we'll just pass the mic around, but we'll have to pass both. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
I had a second.
You could just tape this onto here, right?
Do we have a
Yeah.
MacGuffin that we can just attach this to?
We'll just do our best to pass
Yeah.
both of them.
I love it. I love it. Just
All
don't
right,
hold
and I've
them
got
too
the
close.
chat. Yeah.
I'm taller than everybody. Yeah. This is a first experience for me.
All right, yeah. Anyone have any questions, things they want to focus on? Like this, be selfish. Ask the questions of a dungeon master who wants to learn something.
Say, I want to run a
Grimdark, love it.
Consent sheets.
how, as you said, consent sheets, that helps. But how, I had it and I lost it. I'm so sorry.
something she said, I think you might be asking the same question.
Yeah.
With Halloween, I want you to run a skill cancel for players, like drive home with the lights on, music playing, into that scare kind of campaign. The great thing about this year is that there are 5 Fridays in October, and Halloween is Saturday. So I planned this right. The last session is Friday night leading into Halloween.
Nice.
In my experience playing at this tavern, at least, no one can pay attention. How do you make a scary atmosphere without trying to have relationships in the game, making everything a joke, wanting to adopt the coming kid? And if it helps, I'm usually to base it on the Crooked Moon watching the camera.
Yeah. I have some thoughts.
Yeah. Okay.
We all
So-
have opinions on horror.
I was gonna say, between the three, I will say Andy runs a lot more horror games, but if you've talked to some of my players, I will do things that will make you crawl and be like, you know what, My Little Pony on the way home. I'll let these guys answer it as well. One of the things that I do is atmosphere. You don't have to do a whole lot of work on this. A system that I like to play is called 10 Candles. If you've never heard of it, it is a inevitability type of game. The world is going to die. There's nothing you can do to stop that. It's going to happen. And while the world is dying, you are playing characters trying to survive. But while this is happening, as the sun has gone out, these horrifying creatures are now trying to kill you. And the entire game is where you light 10 candles. And every time, the way I do it is every time either a day or a week passes, we put a candle out. You can kind of play however you want. I had a game where someone didn't read the rules that I sent out and decided they wanted to play a 9-year-old little girl. And the entire game now became keeping this child alive. So when I go back to saying atmosphere, what I did, because I wanted this to be a really hard-hitting thing, and this is kind of my own showmanship, I put us in a dark room, no windows. I had the 10 candles sitting in the front of the table. I had a giant light bar behind me. Now this is all extras. You don't have to do all this. But the idea here is to set the atmosphere of what you're trying to convey. And so as we played and as the days passed, and characters died constantly, but this little girl, everyone protected her. I kept putting out one candle after another after another. Meanwhile, my light bar started bright yellow, slowly faded down into orange, and then down into red. And by the time I put out the last candle, the lights went out. And I essentially said, and then the world disappears. Now, we sat in darkness, and one of the things is let your players sit in it. Don't try to continue the story. Pause. It's okay to set the atmosphere. It's okay to pause. It's okay to let things just kind of ferment. Because in my game, while it was dark and no one could see each other, I just started hearing and then I had several of my players who love me to death tell me, I love you, I still want to play games with you, but I don't want to see you for 2 months. You have made me very unhappy this day. It was a great game though. But yeah, set your atmosphere. Don't force your players to try and don't try to stop the comedic things. In this game, it was a 5-hour game. Comedy happened. You can't stop people from having those. Just like in real life, you can't always be miserable. You have to have those moments. But let that kind of intensity come from those moment-to-moments and set the atmosphere so that players know right out of the gate things are not great, and kind of let them lead that. Let them lead that kind of conversation. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I would say a lot with that. Setting your atmosphere is amazing. Just the simple using music can do so much for it. And I think you mentioned this a little bit. Don't stop. Don't feel like we can't laugh during a serious campaign, because the highs will make the lows seem that much harder. On that as well, if you're specifically thinking to make things, if you want to make something scary, your player's imagination is going to be 1,000 times more scary than anything that you could put in front of them. I think it reminds me of one of the scariest Doctor Who episodes I have ever seen is the one where they're all afraid of the dark. Because it doesn't really get into what is in the dark. And playing around with using mechanics to support saying, oh, roll me a perception check as you're looking through this. And they roll and say, well, it's quite dark. And that is uneasy. And that makes you wonder what is in the dark. And now your players are thinking about, oh no, what did he put in the dark? Maybe I didn't put anything, but they're thinking about it.
Love it. Okay, I got a mic, so hold on to that one, but I'll take this one. All right. They're great. I want to build on these two. I love horror. I run Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is a great horror system if you want to run. That's another thing. Think about how the rules will support a horror. Call of Cthulhu does a much better job at than D&D. So there's one thing. We talked about atmosphere. How you describe things will be very important. You said a great thing of like, don't give all the information to your players. Sometimes the scariest things is things they don't know. And I want to add to that, what the most terrifying thing your players will feel is when they're certain about something, when they are like, yes, we know this for sure, and then you reveal that is actually not the case and they don't know at all what they're talking about. So they killed this villain, they saw his body turn to ash, they stuck the wooden stake in the heart, and then at the grand ball they see the villain walking down the staircase, greeting everyone like nothing had ever happened. That puts the fear into the players because they're like, we have no clue actually what happened. We thought we knew the world, but now it's not. And the fear of uncertainty is what can really scare players because now everything that they believed in is now gone and anything is possible. The other thing, if you really want to make your players feel horrible after a session, is you give them a villainous choice. As in, like, the only way you're going to get out of this situation is if you yourselves do something villainous. As in, to stop this monster, it requires you putting out a victim as a sacrifice, or somebody to die, or you have to complete a ritual, and during that ritual, like, something of innocence is lost. So, one of the most
unchangeable moments.
Yeah, exactly. And so, one of the worst, like, my players were like, geez Louise, I can't believe we had to do that. Was like, the only way to seal this monster was to have someone die, and none of the players wanted to die, so they had to force an NPC to be that sacrifice for the players. And that feels bad, and that makes them question their characters and what they stand for and that kind of stuff, and it forces them to make a villainous choice. So those are my recommendations. We have a lot of questions from chat, so say this, and then we'll do some lightning questions in chat, and then we'll go back to other stuff.
Talk to your players beforehand.
Yeah.
People, to make a serious campaign or a horror campaign, you gotta have players that want to play that game.
I love horror. I consent to rated R, so I'm all for that. Okay, questions. So we have a pretty deep one here. This one's from Braden. I'm running a Descent to Avernus. My players are level 9. Session ended in a TPK. I gave the players the option to resurrect their characters, but leveled down. And half of the party chose to do that, and the other half of the party chose to make new characters. So how do I make this TPK punishing for the people who decided to come back, but at the same time not completely stopping them and feeling bad to the players who did that? So that's a very nuanced question, and that's kind of why we're wanting to do these classes, because these are the questions like, where do I find an answer to that? Do any of you want to say anything first? Okay, you got the mic.
I do actually have a campaign right now with some undead players. I would say this is making punishments and offering solutions to said punishments. We have a whole character sheet that they're playing Legends of Descent of
Avernus.
Avernus?
Yeah.
Avernus. Avernus. That's
Whatever hell game. We have a whole character sheet that we can play around with of things that you could take away temporarily. Maybe with their souls being pulled back into their bodies, they have difficulty attuning to items. But throughout your game, you can now place some things of, oh, you can fix this attunement to items, but you're going to sacrifice some of your hit points, or now you have to make a deal with this devil, especially because we're in Avernus. That way it is a punishment, but there is a solution that you have planned that is going to move the story forward.
Okay, so I've had, on occasion, something like this happen. I try, in all fairness, not to kill my players. It does happen. Every DM has had a moment where they're like, oops, did it. Sometimes I do it purposely. I've killed my players on purpose many, many times just to make them jump through hoops. In this particular case, something that you might want to think about is, as part of this punishment, and the players coming in, Avernus has a really fun system in the case of soul coins. Have those players, the ones that got resurrected and the ones coming in, have it so they don't own their coins. Their souls are gone. They don't own them anymore. Someone has those coins. Their death is now leading to someone having power or sway over them, and add that to your campaign. Maybe someone wants to burn it into making their infernal machine run a little faster, and before that happens, they gotta find those coins before the worst of the worst happens. There are lots of easy ways to make it so the punishment is something that they can come back from, but also so that it can still feel like it's a punishment. And I don't like to use the phrase punishment because we don't really want to make you feel like you're being punished. I'd say in this particular case, just like with any story building, this isn't a punishment. This is a new opportunity to further their character story and to add something new to like the overall arc of how things are going.
Love it. I don't have any answer. You guys nailed it. So we'll go on to another question and then we'll open it up back here. We had a question here. Could you give some tips and tricks on how to create a homebrew legendary creature? 2 pieces of advice I have. There is an amazing book called Flea Mortals by Matt Colville, MCDM. He has a great way of creating and designing character or monsters. So I would definitely look at that and steal that stuff. And then if we're doing legendary creatures or our main villain or something, they should absolutely break the rules. Like your villain or your legendary creature should absolutely do stuff that nobody else gets to do, and that's what makes them so cool. So a great example is you could do like Vecna, who is like this all-powerful mage. You give the players, okay, players, take your turns. What are you going to do to hurt Vecna? And they're like, yeah, we're going to cast all these debuffs and we're going to stun him and we're going to let your players like go complete like crazy on him. And then after the players have completed their turn, Vecna will laugh and say, I see your plan now. And then he gets to instead react to everything that they tried to do, and he shuts down their entire first turn completely. They used all their resources. Nothing happened because he is a all-powerful wizard who maybe even can see the future. And that's game breaking. Like there's no mechanic for that, but you gave that to your villain, and now holy cow, that just made him seem so much more threatening. Now, we can't do that for the second and third and fourth turn, so it still gives your players a chance to fight back, but that's a really cool thing you can do for your legendary creatures or villains. Let them break the mechanics of the world in the game, and that'll be absolutely memorable. All right, I'll pass it on to you two, and then we'll get into things.
I like to create legendary and mythic type creatures in a very specific way. I decided a long time ago that every single action and reaction, bonus action, and passive action, essentially, that something has to happen. If you've played at my table, you'll know I hate combat in D&D. It's arduous and time-consuming. My combats last a very, very short time. So one of the things I do is to make my legendary creatures feel intense is every time a player is doing something on their turn, not a legendary action, just passive things are happening. The environment changes, a spell effect goes off, a piece of the villain throws a random attack, maybe not a super powerful one, but a random attack, so that the players, even on their own terms, are feeling assaulted and assailed, and they're having a hard time working with it. That way, so even though maybe you're only doing 3 turns total, each of those turns felt like they were running a marathon. Make your monsters monstrous. That's kind of the best way to put that. And just as a kind of a caveat, back to something you said, the less your players know about this legendary creature, the better. Let them find some ambiguous information, but the less they know, it makes it even more terrifying, and can even make it so that if you need to improv on the fly, you can do so, and it's not a game-breaking thing either.
When getting into the actual building of the stat blocks and creating my own actions for things, I like to start with just the theme of the character that I'm going for. And a little bit of this comes with experience, but deciding what I want it to look like when they take an action, and then finding the mechanic to support that, or creating the mechanic to support that instead. I am not taking from stat blocks, but coming up with an idea and supporting it with mechanic.
Cool. All right, back here for questions. Anyone got a question? Specific thing we want to try to tackle?
I see you thinking, yeah.
I was gonna say, Steve got a question.
We talked about building up sessions for like, I don't really like a bare minimum, but enough for you to work with for several sessions.
Yeah.
What about world building on like a grander scale when you're trying to set up the game itself?
Can you
I always fall into this trap.
Can you repeat that just so the live streams hears that?
Yes. The question was, we have talked about building session prepping on the small scale. How do we move that into the big scale of world building? How this is going to be different from DM to DM, but me personally, I focus one town at a time. Oftentimes when I'm starting a new world or a new campaign, build out a map, come up with a whole bunch of random names for towns, and those towns come up as I need them. And when we get there, they get built.
I am the exact opposite. No, I build worlds. I don't care about towns, cities, anything like that. I want huge amounts of world data because that's what I put into my games. So in most of the time what I start with is like, okay, I don't need to know names. I don't care about what names are. I care about topography. So I say, okay, the world is X amount of size. It's going to have archipelagos. It's going to have mountain ranges. And I'm not going to put names to anything. I'm not going to build kingdoms yet. I honestly, I ask myself kind of the same questions over and over again. Where are the mountains? That's going to create my borders. Where are the rivers, the lakes, the oceans, whatever. And I'm just going to kind of throw it all in there. And then I'm going to ask, okay, where's this kingdom? Where's that kingdom? Where's this kingdom? And you're just going to layer by layer by layer go down until you have something. And then you can get into the more nitty gritty of each and every location. So again, and if you ever play my tables in a campaign, my players will tell you, I give you lore books so that you can read, because I type an infuriating amount of information. So when I give you a lore Bible, you're going to have information that says, hey, this town has this culture, this is festivals they do, this is things that they're a part of, this is the world in this own tiny little town, this is everything about them. Because of these geopolitical things, because of these, mountain ranges, these forests, these rivers. Now, did I know that by the time the players interacted with it? Probably not. I made it up with the players as they were sitting at my table. But did I know the mountain ranges were there? Did I know the forest was there? Absolutely. It's information the players, quite frankly, don't care and don't need to know. But you as the GM knowing it means that, and the time, or if you need to improv something, you can immediately be like, cool, I know this information, let's just throw something out there. And if you do your session planning correctly, you've already got everything ready to go. And if you need to throw extras in there, you know where everything is located.
Sweet. Yeah. I kind of err on Brinley's side. For me, I treat it like a video game. For those who like to play video games, you're playing, for example, Elden Ring. Yeah, Elden Ring. You see a castle far in the distance. In video game terms, it's just a picture of a castle. It's not the full entire castle. They haven't rendered anything. There's no monsters in there. It's just a picture in the background. And so when I world build, I've got my starter town where the players are going to start, and we get the tavern keeper and we build all that lore. And then I'm like, okay, there's going to be the nearby city, and what's going on in the nearby city? There's a thieves guild. I don't even know who's part of the thieves guild. I don't even know what the motivation is or what they're stealing. I just know next town has a thieves guild. What's in the kingdom? The kingdom has a corrupt king. Cool. And here's the name of the kingdom. Cool. And so what I do is think of a video game. If your players are in a town, I kind of render out very low low quality images of the surrounding world around them. And then if they're like, oh, there's a thieves guild? That sounds interesting. I wanted to learn more about that. Then I'd say, well, you're going to have to travel. And then that gives me some time to load. In real life, it gives me time to load. Has the thieves guild in. So I got my map. Cool, I got my whole location. I'm just going to put an interesting thing around, spread it around. And then when the players actually catch something that's interesting, great, you're going to have to give me some time to load. And then I can actually then flesh out the Thieves Guild with the captain and the first mate who's going to backstab the captain. What makes the Thieves Guild really interesting, their secret language and stuff. So I got the video game rendering philosophy as far as world building goes. Great questions. All right, we had a cool online question here. Brinley, this is from one of your regulars. Is there anything that we as players can avoid that makes DMs irritated? And what's the best thing we can do to show appreciation for a DM who spends a lot of time on preparing their games? Do you want to tell them what's irritating?
I think this is something that we should all do a better job at. Don't try to win D&D. We're not here to impress everybody with how cool I can be and, oh, look at my sick build, or look at this really cool dragon that I'm going to kill you all with.
Oh, man.
I know.
That's the best part.
I know.
I'm an edgelord and I will be edgelord.
Yeah.
To
throw an entire edgelord campaign.
not
It would be horrible.
frustrate your DM and frustrate the other people at the table. Go into the game thinking, what can I do to help lift up my friends? Specifically, my friends. Because we should be treating all each other as friends, not just as other people sitting at the table. This is a collaborative thing that we're all doing together. And what can I do to help have a cool moment for my friend over here and get that joy from seeing them happy? And if I do that, they're gonna, a little bit of selfish, they're gonna do it back to me too. And it's gonna be fun. We're gonna pass back and forth these special moments of helping each other.
So one thing that irritates me that players do at my tables is kind of related to what you were saying. I don't like it when players are antagonistic toward one another. You can be players, you can be friends and players, you know, have great above table kind of like fun conversations, and your characters can be antagonistic, but that needs to remain the case. The game is the game, real life is real life. Don't interject yourself into your character. Let your character be their own thing and keep the above table stuff lighthearted. That being said, frustrating me specifically, I can be bought. So Dr. Pepper and bourbon are always a way to get what you want out of me, even when you frustrate me. But that being said, yes. That being said, yeah, just work with your party. Don't try to fight them on it. Let people have their moments. Let people, you know, if they're doing a backflip off of a castle wall, let them do the backflip. You know they're going to break their neck and you're going to have to go heal them, and you can chastise them while you're fixing the neck they broke, but let them do it regardless. Oh, wait.
It's such a vibe that these are the same answers literally for all three of us. Is don't be a dick. Like that's what it comes down to. All us dungeon masters, we just want to have fun with our friends. We don't want anyone to be a dick to each other.
It's not all about you.
Right?
Yeah. It's all about us having fun together.
Yeah.
Now that being said, how to actually be a good antagonistic character is clearing it beforehand. There's some great parts in the live plays that Critical Role have put out where like their characters are getting really into it, you know, like Sam says, "What's the name of my mother?" Or Scanlan says, "What's the name of my mother?"
What is his mother's name?
Yeah, and what a cool character moment. What a really cool role-playing moment. I want my players to be able to have that. But before that session, if I'm going to try to drop that bomb on somebody else in my play group, I should message them before. And I should say, hey, you know, I really want to have a really fun role play moment, but it's going to be a bit intense, and I want to just run this by you. Is this okay? Because kind of what's been happening so far has given us this opportunity. And so you can absolutely play an edgelord, you can absolutely play something like that if you've been able to set the tone with the other players and ask for permission. If you ask for permission, like Matt Mercer right now is playing the most edgy edgelord in their campaign right now. But no doubt he is good friends with them, and he has let them know, hey, my character is going to be kind of a stick in the mud for a while until he arcs out, and it's going to be a really cool part. But are you okay with that? Are we all on the same page there? And so you can absolutely have fun and play a character like that as long as you know you've worked it out with the players before. So
It stays
yep.
as the character.
And it stays as the exactly.
Remember,
exactly.
above table is above table. Characters can have whatever interactions, but keep their interactions out of your personal relationship with the people at the table.
All right. Any final burning question in the last 2 minutes? All right. Brindley, where can we find you? Because we didn't get that in the live stream.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and you need that.
You can find me here at the tavern. I work here. I am also a commission animator and artist. You can find me at BCE Arts on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I think TikTok. Not so much TikTok. Definitely Instagram. Yeah.
Sweet. Thank everyone for coming. Thanks for everyone who watched our live stream.
Thank you.
Yeah, it means a lot. Appreciate ya. If you want to stick around and talk to any of us, you more than can. Thank you, live stream.
Please come play games.
Yes.
It is free RPG day, so please join the table. We want to run the games.
When are you going to do second edition again?
Second edition?